Listen. Hey. I know I have not came to y'all recently to do an update on the story time. I know when I left off, we were in 2013 around April when I moved into my apartment after moving out my friend's house or whatever. But to pick up where I left off, I ended up getting the apartment. The lady at the front office ended up messing up the paperwork, so she actually told me it was a cheaper price than what I had to pay. But I did have all the money. I had all the money that I needed to have to move in. You know, the move-in fee, or was it the deposit? I think it was the deposit and the move-in fee. I had all the money. So she was telling me, she said, well, I think she said it's gonna cost you $700 to move in. So I'm like, $700? I'm like, okay. So I went and got what you call those things, a money order for $700. And then I was like, oh, I need some stuff for the house. So I went and grabbed some stuff for the house, which was my biggest mistake. Which was my biggest mistake because I should have known something was off. But I went, when I got stuff for the house, broom, dish detergent, laundry detergent, Swiffer, the pads, cleaning supplies. I think I got a little food. Cause I'm just like, okay, $700 to move in, let's go. But I should have known something was like not clicking. But I was just thinking that, hey, I got a deal. So ended up taking it, and when I took the deposit, they were just like, where's the rest of it? And I'm like, the rest of it? She said it was seven something. She said this was all I had to pay, and they was like, hold on, let me check. So they went to check, and they was like, oh, see, she messed up. She gave you the prorated rent and da. So to move in, you actually need 12, what was it, 12? The whole thing was like 12 to 13. It was either or. But I'm like, what? She was like, yeah, you need the whole the 12 or 13 to move in or whatever. So I'm just like, yeah. I'm like, what? How? And she was like, she charged you the wrong price. She put you on prorated. I'm like, so because she messed up, I was just like, so my whole thing was because she messed up, I still have to pay the full thing. So what I told them was, I was like, well, can I bring it back to y'all? Because I don't have it. She told me it was $700, so I ended up going to get some stuff for my house. So I just kept it real with them. I'm like, so can I bring it back to y'all by the end of the day? If not the end of the day, I will bring it back tomorrow. So they were like, yeah, sure, or whatever. So that's what I did. I went back out. I went to work, and I ended up making the remainder. Back. Well, what I spent, I ended up making that back to add to what I already had. And then I was able to get my key. Was it that same? I don't think. It was probably the next day. I think it was the next day. It was probably the next day. So I was just like, this is some crazy stuff. And then to come to think about it, now that I'm talking about that, one of my cousins just moved, and that same exact thing happened to her. They told her it was going to be like a $250 to move in. She kept telling me like something that can't be right because they're saying that this is $250 to move in. Deposit was. She was like, but something is not right. And then when they actually went to go pick up their key, they told them it was like $1,700 to move in. So that was like, I felt like somebody had punched me in my gut. But long story short, they end up getting it. They end up going to get their key that same exact day. But it's just like, what are y'all doing in there? What are y'all doing in there? Are y'all hiring people just to hire people? Or are y'all not training the people correctly? Because I want to know what's going on in there. But yeah, so that was that. I end up moving in the apartment. My friend ended up letting me hold her air mattress. So I was sleeping on the air mattress for a little minute before I got my bed, which took me a while because, yeah. And then I wasn't even able to furnish my house like the way I wanted to because I was always working. I was just always driving, working, and paying the bills and not taking no real time for myself. I made a promise to God that, God, you bless me with this house. I will not neglect the gift that you put inside of me. I will continue to create content. I will continue to make people laugh. And I mean, I did it, but I didn't do it. I feel like I could have did better. I didn't do it the way that I was supposed to, because when I was doing it, most of the time I was still doing it in my car because I was out trying to work. Versus, like taking some days off and like creating content, and even if I did take some days off to create content, I felt so bad. I felt bad. I felt like I wasn't doing something. I felt like I wasn't being productive. That's because I wasn't really seeing the return over here. But if I would have kept at it and I would have stayed focused and I would have been taking some days off, he probably would have blessed me with a better run than I did, because I really didn't stick to what I said I was going to do. And I feel like that was my fault, because I didn't. I said I wasn't going to be out there driving my life away. I wasn't going to be out there, because that was the whole purpose of me not going to get a 9-to-5. It was the purpose of me doing Uber Eats and DoorDash was to create that freedom, not to drive myself into the ground because the bills are coming, and you know what I'm saying? And then another thing, and then I end up, let me say this before I say that, but even when I did that, I still end up saying, oh, I don't want to put these many miles on my car, let me go get a job. So I end up going to get a job, and I end up going back. Remember when I told y'all that, I told y'all that I was, when I was sleeping in my car, I was homeless in the car, and I had an interview for Racetrack. Well, I end up filling out an application and end up contacting that same lady that said, whenever you get situated, da-da-da-da. And I did that, and I ended up getting an interview. And they were like, can you make it to the... I'm like, yes. I made it to the orientation. I ended up getting the job. And I started that same week after I left orientation, which Racetrack was good. It was cool. It was everything. But I just had this manager. His sense of humor was like dry. But I could tell he's a cool person. But to have him manage you, like, and he was younger than me. He was I think 2 years younger than me. He was 2 years younger than me. But just to have someone like that manage you, it was just like, he was cool as a person. To me, he was cool as a person, but not as my manager. Because it was like, the way that he trained, his whole style of training, all that, I just felt like it could have been better. I felt like it could have been better. And even when I left, he was like, you leave it? Because I was doing good. It's just like, it was certain stuff that I couldn't get. And I'm like, nigga, I'm not even properly, like, you're training me, but you're not training me. You get what I'm saying? When they train you, but they don't train you because you already know certain things. So they could just put you in this part and put you in that part. And then they try to do like a crash course training, which I'm okay with that sometimes. But I'm going to ask questions. And I feel like I'm the type of person, if I ask questions, you should be willing to answer them. If you're not training me correctly. So don't make me feel like I'm slow or I'm not catching on because I'm asking you questions about how to do this better. You get what I'm saying? So that was that on that. And with the okay, so I got the job, started working there. I worked there for about a good month and a half before I started realizing this is not what's up. And I think I was making like, what was it, $16 an hour? And I'm just like, yeah, this not cutting it for me. I'm like, this not cutting it for me, because even when I do Uber or DoorDash, I'm making like at least a good $230 every single day. So I'm just like, yeah, this is slowing me down. This is taking me away. Because I would so if I had to be to work at 2, I would DoorDash that whole entire morning, then go home, get dressed, go to work. And then if I had to be there in the morning, I would go to work in the morning, early in the morning. And then when I get off, I would go home, change, and go DoorDash. So that was just like, that was my schedule. And as you can tell, and in between time, like in the midst of me going home and changing, I would shoot a video real quick, like a minute video. Or, I would create content, but it was just like rush content, but it was still good, but it was rushed, but it was ideas that I had that I written down, and I would do it like that. But it was not what it was not what it was cut out to be. For me, that is not how I pictured me moving into my new apartment it was going to be. I just knew that I was going to be able to be home, and I was going to be able to make this money off Facebook, off TikTok, off Instagram, because I wasn't even really doing YouTube then. I think I was uploading my videos to YouTube, but I wasn't taking it. I was just uploading. I wasn't taking it serious. Then I ended up leaving there, and I just went back to Lyft and Uber, and I just started working there and working. And then I started having car problems, which kind of set me back a little bit. So then my rent started being late a little bit. Then I had to catch that up. So my rent started being late like every month. So I was paying like about $1,500 for a 1-bedroom apartment versus my, what was it, 12 versus the $1,254 or 12 something, whatever it was. By it being late, it was coming up to like $1,500 and something, or $1,536, $1,560, something like that. I remember those numbers. So I was doing that, and then I kept doing it, got caught up, and you know what? I was so slow because I didn't learn this until after I moved, which I wanted to slap myself so hard, because you know how when you have, or if you're in an apartment complex and you pay your bill, you pay your rent online. It never clicked in my head, even when I used to go on there and see that you can put money towards your rent, like before the actual day come up. It never clicked in my mind to do that. And I didn't realize that until after the fact. So I'm like, I could have been putting money, like every time I made money that day or that week, I could have been putting that money towards the rent, so that way it wouldn't be like, I'm trying to gather all the money so that's why I was always like out in the field just every day. I'm like, all right, so the gas got to go. And then doing that, you'll make a good grip of money, but then you got to put like gas in the car throughout the whole week. So I was paying like in gas alone, it was probably coming up to like between $200 to $300, I think. I think it was becoming between $200 to $300 a week for gas. Probably four. I would say between two to 400 a week, because it were times where I would put $40 in a day. So, and that would last me the whole entire day. And then, of course, I would have to refill it up the next morning before I start work. And me, I never liked my car to go below a half a tank, because I feel like it could just be me. I feel like the gas run out quicker when it goes below a half a tank. So what I would do is I would always fill it up, and I got to the point to where I'm just like, you know what, that's cutting into my time, because I could be working and I see it get below half time, like, oh, I gotta find the gas station. I was like, no, I gotta cut that. I'm finna run it down until like I gotta, because I feel like I was gonna miss a good order or making good money if I have to shut my app off and go to the gas station. And sometime in between time, I wouldn't shut my app off. I would just pause it, drive in the gas station real quick, and as I'm pumping gas, I'll unpause it just in case I got an order. But it was like a rat race. It felt like one to me. But that rent thing, I really was peed off at myself, because I was like, I could have been paying my rent piece by piece. I could have been paying my rent piece by piece, so that way by the end of the month, and and still have enough money to juggle as I'm going. You know what I'm saying? 200 here, 200 here, 200 here. Like I should have did it like that. 200 here, 300 here, 200. I should have did it like that, but now I know. So if I get in that situation again, I already know what time it is. But I ended up doing that for a while, and when I ended up doing that, I started doing my content. I started doing my content, and then what happened? Something happened. Something happened with my content, because I wasn't making nothing then on social media. Was I? I think I was making a little something, but it wasn't nothing serious. It was like $100 something, or it wasn't nothing that was making a big difference. It was like between $100, $200 something, and I'm like, man, I know that. And Facebook wasn't like pushing my stuff out. And when I tell y'all I was making content, I was juggling DoorDash and Uber and doing content. I was doing content at home. I was doing content in the car. I'm talking about and Sundays was like, I made Sundays my main content day, because that's the days that I wasn't working. I was like, all right, Sunday will be my rest day. And that's what I did. And then I started ending up working on Sundays again. And that's when every time I go against my word, something bad happens. Because I said Sunday would be my rest day. Sunday a day I give my body a break and I'll reset. And I was doing it, and then I was wanting to chase the dollar, just to have extra money in my pocket, so that I won't, once I pay my bills, I'll still have something extra in my pocket. You get what I'm saying? Because the rent was taking a big chunk out of me. And plus, not to include lights and water and things like that. And then not only that, the rent was so high because I had insurance. My apartment complex was saying they said they didn't receive the email for my insurance, and I didn't know this till later down the line. They were still charging me for insurance. They were still charging me for I think they were still charging me for water. Was they charging me for water? I think they was charging me for water and lights. And I had to go up there and I had to send all that stuff over. So they was like, yeah, we kind of backed up, so it's going to take a while before your rent go back. So that was another reason why it skyrocketed like that. So that was a whole nother thing. And then this is when my car ended up breaking down, and it was just like, I wasn't able to make no money. So I was in my apartment, I was like, I think I had just paid my rent, and my car ended up breaking down, and I was like, oh my gosh. And mind you, I think it was late, if I'm not mistaken. I ended up paying that, car ended up breaking down. So I had no stream of income coming in. And lucky enough, that whole time I was in that apartment, I had days where I was just eating like popcorn, a slice of bread and butter. But it got to the point to where I end up, like with that free time, I end up writing trust issues. I end up writing my short film Trust Issue, well, the series, season 2. I ended up writing that whole time I was down. I just started getting back closer with God, even though I was like still, doing what I do. I was getting back closer to Him, and I ended up joining this ministry or whatever, and that helped me. Joining in that ministry, that kind of helped me a little bit, like with when I needed it, people would sow into me, and I was still sowing back into others. And I was on the verge of getting evicted, and I was still sowing. When people were sowing to me, I was still sowing into others. And when I would receive something, and it was just like I was dishing out and sowing, but it was coming back. But I felt like, when you feel like it could be better, or when you feel like people could help, but they don't. I don't know how to put that. If it makes sense. Like, and then, like, especially when you tell them your situation, and then it's like they go ghost a little bit, and then you don't hear. And it's just like you don't want to keep aggravating them about what's going on with you, but you ask them to try to find some resources for you, and they say, yeah, I'm gonna do it, I'll let you know, You never hear from the eviction notice come on your door. Then next thing you know, you gotta go answer it. Then you gotta go to court. So by the time all that came up, I was already had to pack up my stuff. I had by that time I had to pack up my stuff. I ended up getting my car fixed because somebody sold it to me to go get my car fixed, and I went to go get it fixed, and it wasn't really fixed because when I packed up all my stuff, by the time it was time for me to pack up all my stuff and get ready to move, the car started running hot, so I had to stay down. It was a disaster. It was a disaster. But I'm gonna wrap that up right here, and that's the part of me getting evicted. 2023. The end of 2023, it was around, what was it? November, December. This is December. So this is December 2023. I end up loading up my car, cleaning the apartment. I had to leave my bed there. I had to leave some pictures. I had to leave a lot of stuff there because my car was packed. I was going back to Florida to my mom's house. That's when I had ended up asking my mom if I could move back. I said, can I move back to get myself together? They said, yeah. Only to find out when I got there, they were gonna like be aggravating and annoying. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up right there. And the next video will be me telling y'all how the car would not help me make it to Florida. So I love y'all. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure y'all subscribe. Make sure y'all like. Make sure y'all comment. And hit that bell button so you'll be notified when I drop another video.